have one thing to say to that.
Yeah.
Purr.
Love it.
Go ahead and eat.
Oh,
Take a
yes,
bite.
amazing. Hello.
I'm gonna take a bite too.
I picked the worst possible meal to...
MarylandMatters.com said you looked like a teenager when you were running for Congress. Did that bother you?
So the exact quote was that I looked like a teenager sitting around my colleagues, which I think bothered them more than it bothered me, right?
Kamala Harris brought out Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo at one of her rallies, which was iconic. She also had a brat summer, and she's running this campaign on joy.
Yeah.
Really, like that was a word that was repeated every single day at the DNC. Do you think that you can run a campaign solely on vibes?
I think she's also running a campaign on a platform to, build up America's economy. We've seen this New Way Forward agenda. She's running on her 4 years as vice president and her long record in public service before that. And she's running to really uphold the freedoms of people in this country.
The Harris-Walz campaign hasn't put out a written policy plan. Doesn't that make it hard for people to figure out who to vote for?
I think fundamentally, we know that this election, the real policy differences have to do with our freedoms. There will continue to be a conservative Republican effort to ban abortion in this country, no matter what they say right now. Donald Trump is responsible for putting the Supreme Court justices on that court that voted to overturn Roe v. Wade, and he's proud of it. And we've seen what they've proposed and what they've suggested when it comes to national abortion bans. They're not done yet, versus Vice President Harris and a Democratic Senate and House that could pass the Women's Health Protection Act and codify abortion rights once again at the federal level.
What's your astrological sign?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No, January 4th, is it Capricorn?
I know what it is, yeah, it's Capricorn.
It's Capricorn.
I already knew the answer before I asked you. Okay, Capricorns are known for being honest, ambitious, and hardworking. Would you say that accurately describes you?
I hope so. At least that's what I strive for.
Okay.
Especially the honest part,
When was the last time you told a lie?
I try not to. They catch up with you,
They do. Well, you know who else is a Capricorn? Maxwell Frost.
Okay. Yeah, January. I know that because he's 13 days younger than me.
He has talked about being the Gen Z translator for older members of Congress.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what is your favorite Gen Z slang term?
It's funny because we're eating, but 8.
8?
It just always confuses older people because they're like, I have eaten, and it's like, no, I ate, it's...
My favorite one is purr.
Purr.
Have you heard purr?
Yeah. I like
Purr.
purr.
You helped pass a bill about hate speech.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I live in an incredibly diverse community, and it has really pained me to see how much hate we've seen targeting a number of different communities here. I was committed to doing something about it, so I worked together with a range of different stakeholders, and we created a commission. One other step that we took, and it's a bill that we weren't able to fully get across the finish line, but we're going to try it again, is related to graffiti. We've seen this really all over, and it got personal when I saw it in my own apartment building. And 3 times over the course of last summer, we saw swastikas drawn in the lobby. And the 3rd time, it took days for them to get taken down. So I sponsored a bill that we're still trying to perfect, so that if there is a hateful piece of graffiti drawn, such as a swastika, there is a certain window of time in which that has to be taken down. And I want us to reach a day where no more swastikas are drawn, where no more hate symbols are drawn in our schools or on our streets, but as long as they're there, they should be taken down as promptly as possible so that the community feels safe.
A lot of progressives in the Democratic Party have been very critical of Israel. Israel is something that you've supported all along, and you've been open in your support about it. What informs your stance on that?
I struggle with how we've been approaching this situation, because I think that there has been a real lack of empathy for what happened on October 7th. I think that Hamas has clearly demonstrated that they are a real danger to Israeli civilians. And I don't think that they should be in power in Gaza anymore. I also think that Netanyahu has, in so many ways, created real harm and made it harder for us to reach a two-state solution.
You're also Jewish.
Yeah.
Do you feel any sort of internal conflict when you think about this issue?
My values as a Jewish person are fundamentally about peace and about the preservation of human life.
You're 27, I'm 26. As a generation, we were born into chaos. I can't remember a time growing up where there wasn't a school shooting happening, and like every time a school year starts, inevitably it's gonna happen. Yeah. What do we do about that?
One of the greatest senses of urgency that I feel relates to gun violence. First and foremost, it is the leading cause of death for young people in this country. And that is just an extreme failure of governance. We know what the steps are to keep people safe. We banned assault weapons in this country in 1994, right? If you look at the data, the number of deaths from gun violence dropped, and they ticked right back up again when that expired in 2004. So we know what we have to do to save lives. And I think every person in our generation can relate to that fear. I think we urgently need action. And I think the place to start is with a national assault weapons ban.
The lieutenant governor of Georgia last year said that he wanted to give teachers an extra $10,000 a year to carry a gun in the classroom. What do you think about that?
Nearly every time we have one of these shootings, one of the first reports that comes out is that it was an AR-15. Almost without exception, right? You look at the deadliest mass shootings in this country, AR-15, AR-style weapon. So why don't we take the step that has been taken before in this country? There is precedent for it. We've done it. It works. We ban assault weapons and save lives.
So you're a lawmaker. You've been having these conversations with other lawmakers. Why can't we make that happen?
Well, we've done it in Maryland, but the challenge is that we can't control the flow of weapons into our state. We can't control what happens in other states or what their gun policies are, right? So we can take all the steps necessary here. But A, if we have a Supreme Court that is intent on undermining life-saving gun laws, that's a problem, right? That's why we need to make sure that the next president of the United States is someone that is going to not continue to nominate these political, extreme, right-wing Supreme Court justices that will undermine gun safety laws. And then we need federal action, national action, so that the lives of people in my state, their safety and their security isn't determined by what other elected officials in other states decide to do with their gun laws.
People our age aren't as enthusiastic about politics as you are. I feel like a lot of people are apathetic about voting, and I was just wondering, like, what do you think we should do about that?
Yes, I'm a politician. I'm a legislator, right? I don't think I'm as enthusiastic about politics as I am about tackling the issues that we face in our state and in our country.
So what's your advice to young people who want to get more involved?
By 2050, I'm still going to be younger than my average colleague, than the average member of Congress, right? So that urgency that I feel in addressing the climate crisis, for example, It's not some far off theory. It's the world that I am going to inherit, that my friends and family are going to inherit, that my children are going to inherit, no matter how old you are watching this, right? If you are willing to support and invest and help advance that next generation of leadership, I think we'll all be better off as a result of it.
You ate, Joe.
I ate, literally.